Welcome, everyone. Great to have you here today for our Friday review. One of my favorite ways to end the week is to be able to go over what we have been discussing this week, big ideas, big thoughts, big things going on inside of the virtual community, as well as what's been happening on the podcast. Plus, on these Friday reviews, I love being able to bring you some new piece of technology related to health. Maybe it's a book review, which is what we're doing today. And then each and every Friday for all of 2022, I'll be going through an herb of the week. So maybe you've heard of this herb before, maybe you haven't. What I'm going to do is go in depth on it, because herbs are truly medicine, meaning we were given all of the things that we need in life in order to stay healthy and be healthy. Now, there's more you can do instead of that. I'm not saying it's the only thing, but certainly we know that, especially with 50% of all pharmaceutical drugs coming from herbal-based extracts and then being changed in a lab into some, Frankenstein-based project, that is a step removed from nature. Now, again, I'm not totally against pharmaceutical drugs because they can be life-saving. You know what I am against? If there's a way to do it naturally, if there's a way to rebalance the body, then of course I would love to look at that as a long-term approach. So what we're going to go over is Herb of the Week. We've got a fun one of my favorites, like we went over last week with stinging nettles. We're going to be going over a book review, sneak peek of the back of the book. That'll be coming. And then also 2 research studies this week that I think you'll enjoy on fibromyalgia and CBD as related to the virus. All right, so we're going to go over all that. Well, we always start with our updates, though. So I wanted to share with you that this is just the 3rd week, right? We're going into the 3rd-ish week of January, and the online health community has just exploded. I mean, it's just unbelievable how quickly it is growing, and that is mainly through all of your referrals. And I have to thank you for that, because what we are doing is we are on a mission to bring at-home health testing and true functional medicine protocols to as many people that are open to listening as possible. And we're now doing this with such an insane offer of giving it away to people free that I feel like a lot of people now, it's the start to the new year. They're saying, okay, this is my time. I've heard about this before. Let's get started. So we just took thousands of people through a functional medicine detox in January. Now we have dozens of retail and locations and influencers and people promoting. We've got over 1,000 EquiLife ambassadors promoting the protocols and the detox, helping people in 27 countries all over the world. Just amazing things are going on. And I just want to thank you. I mean, I really do. It's an incredible experience. We have been building this, some could say over the last 11, 12 years since I started to really get into functional medicine, integrative health. But really, over the last 5 years, 2017 and beyond, we started to move my Boston integrative health practice into a virtual practice where instead of helping 20,000 client appointments a year, we now can reach that, more than that every single day now on the podcast, and now many more people. So thank you. I appreciate you. If you don't know about the Ayubowen membership, it's completely free. I have nothing to sell you, but we are changing the industry. And you can just go to equi.life/membership for details. That's equi.life/membership, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Again, it's all free. So over $4,000 worth of benefits, including a free at-home health test your very first month. So I think it's game changing, but I'll let you decide if it is for you. All right. What do we have going on this week, though, in the private practice? Well, for the very first time, and I've been sitting on these for like 3 months waiting to be able to tell you about them, but again, we have to do this one step at a time, is to share with you our new longevity-based line. These are the products that I've been using myself for the past 3+ years as I've been really studying in depth the anti-aging, the longevity, and the growing younger process. Believe it or not, you can actually grow younger. I'm going to be teaching more about this. Can you totally stop aging? No, you can't. And again, I'm not going to say that you can. But you can change your biological age. So there are a lot of people right now that are 47 years old, and if you look at their biological age, well, they might be 56, they might be 61. Well, there are some people that are 47, 48 years old, biological age is 32. Why? Their insides look like that, functioning like that of a 27-year-old versus a 61-year-old, okay? And you can change that. You can't change your chronology. We don't know how yet to really help humans live past essentially 90s to 100 years old. Some people, of course, live longer. We can take thoughts from them. But the general belief is this in terms of the scientific community. Within the next 10 to 20 years, humans will be able to routinely live 100 years. And maybe the next 20, 30 years, routinely live what many people believe is the natural human lifespan of about 120 years, okay? My job is to make sure that however long you live, that it's a good quality of life. You know, I think that that's really important as well, and that gets overlooked. So I can't go through all of what the longevity line entails, so I'm not going to go through it wildly. Just know that over a year's worth of scientific research and formulation went into every single one of these products, especially our flagship, which is the Cell Boost and the Inflammasoothe, which makes up the Advanced Renewal System. And it is unlike anything you've probably seen before. I'm guaranteeing you've heard of a lot of these ingredients like Astragalus, alpha-lipoic acid, nicotinamide mononucleotide, transresveratrol, PQQ, and others. But you've probably never seen them in one product before. That's the Cell Boost combined with the Inflammasoothe. And that's just one part of the longevity line. There's natural boosting hormones, no synthetics, meaning like no lab-created hormones. And there's our daily hair support, which is going to be a game-changing product for hair support, just like it says. You probably heard my podcast on COVID and hair loss as well. And then there's this product for all of us staring at computer screens all day long, and that is the Daily Vision and Eye Health. Again, so many products. Head on over to StephenCabral.com/longevity. StephenCabral.com/longevity. All right. Let's get started with our recap for the week. On Monday, 2180, we went over how your habits form your future. I love that show because all of us are worried about our goals. All of us are worried about what do we need to do to achieve our goals. Very few of us are looking at, well, what are we doing on a daily basis? Because it's either moving us in that direction or it's not, right? So it's kind of like the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise will eventually get there, right? We don't want the hair to burn out, okay? So really important one. Check out 2180, super important. 2181, the COVID virus, right? The virus and how it leads to hair loss and what you can do to regrow that hair. All right, how to become fat adapted. This was an important one. How to burn fat for fuel. That was 2182. Yesterday's show, and again, burning fat for fuel does not mean you need to be in ketosis. I'm trying to teach that through different methodologies. So I basically given you 4 ways to become fat adapted. And then yesterday's show, the top 5 ways to live longer. And I thought this was a great one because it's simply brass tacks. You know, I love using that term. And that's because I don't like to mess around. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't like to play around. I don't like playing around with health. If people have real health issues, I want to help you get to the bottom of it. Like, that's the bottom line. Oh, this might work. Oh, try a little bit of this, try a little bit of that. I don't like that. I like to say, this is what's been proven to work. We do this first because that's going to help 90+% of people. Okay? You're one of the outliers like I was back in the day. Great. We've got plans for you as well. But we need to start at the beginning. We need to say, okay, no, don't guess, test. If you can't test, take an online assessment at StephenCabral.com/assessments. Then do the protocol associated with it. Again, there's a step-by-step formulation. All right. But same with longevity. If you don't follow these first 5, don't worry about all the fancy stuff because you need to do the top 5. All right. So check that out. All right, we're going over now, switching gears to our herb of the week. Last week was stinging nettles. Love being able to go over these. I missed a week, even though literally it's the beginning of the year, and I said I'm gonna do this every single week, and I miss a week, but that's okay. You know, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect either. So what we did though was the week before we went over black seed, and hopefully you checked out that show because not everybody knows about that particular herb. So with our herb of the week, it is Astragalus. I'm giving you some of my favorites up front. I use stinging nettle every single day. I've used it for years and years and years now. Last week's episode at StephenCabral.com/podcast, you can search stinging nettle. The show will come up. Was a show that I want to introduce people to that. Well, another one of my favorite herbs, and I'll tell you why, is Astragalus. Astragalus is more of a traditional Chinese medicine herb than it is Ayurvedic. Now, in Ayurveda, they'll use similarities or have similarities, but Astragalus is one of the standout herbs of TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine. And that is because it is used for everything from immune boosting to beating fatigue to working on inflammation to helping with blood sugar and so much more. Okay, so I'm going to tell you why I use it, and then I'm going to give you some of the science behind it. I use Astragalus because I am someone that used to have Addisons disease, not anymore, not for many, many years. Used to have blood sugar issues. Definitely am very prone to inflammation. My body loves inflammation. It really does. It loves inflammation. But it's okay. I keep it in check. I just have to do maybe just a little bit more than the average individual. And that's part of our genetics. I can't change my genetics. However, what I can do is allow for the expression of my genetics not to turn on in terms of lots of inflammation. So I fixed my histamine issues, fixed my allergies, fixed my gut issues, all those things. And, life is good. But I use it to keep the body strong, but it also is amazing at helping with telomere length for anti-aging, great for mitochondrial strength, and good for the kidneys. Now, why do I use it for the kidneys? Well, it is my belief. I haven't been able to pinpoint it yet. I love doing research though, so I'm always open to your suggestions as well. If anybody is not nephrologist, but if anybody is just a specialist in terms of kidney balance, I do believe that in my family history line, on my mother's side, starting with at least I know my grandmother and my mom, and then myself, and potentially my youngest daughter, have a disposition to weakened kidneys. I'm not going to get too much into that today. My kidneys are good. Don't get me wrong. Nothing wrong with me, okay? But that doesn't mean that they don't fire on all cylinders like a lot of other people do. And I'll give you reasons in the future of why I believe that. Again, life is good. Everything's good. But I'm always strengthening the kidney-based health. I'm gonna solve this. It might take years, but again, I've got years. And so I'm going to enjoy the process of really understanding something that isn't well understood. If you take blood work and you do all of your tests and everything still looks good, but there could still be just not like that 100%. And so I believe it or not, there are certain bacteria inside of the gut that help with different types of urea, uremia, et cetera. Amazing things, right? And there's a connection to the kidney. So there's actually kidney-based bacteria that's good for you. So I love the journey. I love the process. I'm always about optimizing my body. I feel good. And but Astragalus is one of the number one things that you can do for kidney health. Okay. So without further ado, let me just share with you a couple others because I've already kind of got into what Astragalus is good for. But a lot of research on Astragalus in the immune system. So much so that, believe it or not, it's sometimes used in an intravenous drip at high dosages for inflammation in the body and immune benefits. So that I found that to be pretty amazing because I've never heard of anybody using Astragalus as basically an IV-based drip. Of course, you'd want to use that with medical supervision only. What else can I share with you? Helps potentially fight off viruses, pretty great. Helps the common cold and potentially infections to do with the liver. Looking at overall heart function, some really good studies on 60 grams per day of Astragalus by IV. Again, that's another high dosage one. But here's the thing. This is medical-based treatment for certain heart-based damages. How can we use it in everyday life? Well, I know a lot of people, they might be going through chemotherapy. This is another one that can stave off a lot of the effects of chemotherapy, helps with overall healthy levels of blood sugar balance. And as I've mentioned before, good for the kidneys and helping to filter out a lot of that protein as well. The last one where it doesn't get enough of its due is its ability to help with longevity, and that's through mitochondrial function and telomerase, which is an enzyme that helps keep those telomeres long on the end of your DNA. All right, Astragalus, one of my favorite products. I use it right now in a product called Cell Boost, but you can also find it where all good quality nutritional supplements are sold. Okay, next up is our book review of the week. And speaking of longevity, I always love to give credit where credit's due. And I think the top person in the longevity space right now, if I had to just choose one, and there's a lot of great people, is Dr. David Sinclair. So David Sinclair works right over at Harvard, MIT, kind of joint-based projects, mainly with Harvard. And over the last couple of years, he's certainly gained in popularity. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast at least once, I believe twice now, and has been really consistent in his recommendations for not only how we age, but how we can grow younger. Because he believes that aging is actually a disease. And he believes that like I do, all diseases can be fixed. So it's very interesting because if you believe that age is a disease and you believe that humans don't have to have a disease, then that must mean that you believe that humans don't have to age. That is really interesting. I love big thought projects. So I don't believe anybody has to have autoimmune issues. I don't believe anybody has to have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. I don't believe that anybody has to have, migraines or skin conditions or any of these chronic-based conditions. Again, at one point, I had Addisons disease, or rheumatoid arthritis, POTS, mastocytosis, allergies. Those things don't exist anymore. I don't have any of those things. So if you're telling me that aging is one of those things, then you're telling me that I don't have to age. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a great thought. It's a great thought exercise, and I love the big picture thinking. So David goes through all of the different ways that we know of right now to extend human lifespan. And the name of the book is called Lifespan: Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to, by David Sinclair, PhD. And what I would say to you is this. He talks about, and again, I agree with David on 99 out of 100 things. And like every 200, I would disagree with just 2, like minor stuff, okay? And we don't have to go into what I disagree with right now because it's not, I don't think it's of substance and need to talk about that right now because I recommend this book. So if you're interested in how to live longer, this is the book. If you only read one, this is the book, Lifespan by David Sinclair. And he talks about why eating a lot of meat, sure, you can change your body, not conducive to anti-aging. Talks about how much exercise, not overdoing it. A lot of the things that I've talked about on my podcast for years now. Why? Because basically I learned them through Ayurvedic medicine, bioregulatory medicine, etc. And David is learning about them and proving them through lab experiments and mainly with mice. And we're proving what Ayurveda has known for thousands of years. And so I love that. I love combining the best of medicine, conventional medicine and science with Ayurvedic medicine, which is an ancient wisdom of science. So I can definitely recommend it. It's not that long of a read. It reads easy. I mean, there's definitely a lot of science in it, but it reads easy. It's 300 pages, and there's keys in the back for telling you what all the terms mean. He gives credit to a lot of other contributors that have been around for hundreds of years, which is great. Gives a lot of citations. He talks about his favorites like nicotinamide mononucleotide that I've spoken about before and transresveratrol. He uses much higher dosages than I do. But we're on the same page for the most part. And anyway, it's a great book. Check it out. It's worth the read. Just read 10 pages a day. You'll finish it in a month. All right. Next up, 2 research studies for the week. And the first one is going to be on fibromyalgia. And this title of the study is People with Fibromyalgia Are Substituting CBD for Opioids to Manage Pain. Interesting, right? So this was done about 6 months ago, and University of Michigan, published in, let's see, where was this published? I'll link it up. So if you want to go for all of the links today to David's book, previous podcasts, you can go to stephencabral.com/2184. All right. This was published in the Journal of Pain, 2021. All right. So I'll link that up for you. So I'm going to just give you an excerpt from it because it talks about certain cannabinoids, which if you've never heard about cannabinoids before, I can link up a podcast on what cannabinoids are and how they're beneficial. So again, stephencabral.com/2184. The summary says this: as the ravages of the opioid epidemic lead many to avoid these powerful painkillers, a significant number of people with fibromyalgia are finding an effective replacement in CBD-containing products, a new study finds. Let me just give you a direct quote from one of the leads. CBD is less harmful than THC, as it's non-intoxicating and has less potential for abuse, says Kevin Bowenke, PhD, a research investigator in the Department of Anesthesiology and Chronic Pain and Fatigue Research Center. If people can find the same relief without THC side effects, CBD may represent a useful as a harm reduction strategy. Fibromyalgia is not that easy to treat, he goes on, often involving several medications with significant side effects with modest benefits. Further, many alternative therapies like acupuncture, massage are not covered by insurance. Okay, love how they throw in that insurance because they do help. Right? Acupuncture, massage has been known to be helpful. But again, I've talked about fibromyalgia before. Absolutely, it's a nutritional deficiency and toxicity-based issue. The toxicity can come from gut permeability, leading to inflammation. The gut permeability could be candida or bacterial overgrowth. It's possible it's parasites causing an immune-based reaction. Possible it's food sensitivities combined with that. Certainly, there can be stress as a big part of it. Certainly, low vitamin D can be other issues as well. I had fibromyalgia back in the day. It goes kind of hand in hand with a lot of chronic fatigue syndrome. And so I just wanted to share that with you. But as a short term to palliate the symptoms, I have no problem with people using CBD. And I am a proponent of it as well. You can learn more about CBD at equilibriumcbd.com. But learn about it. I mean, that's the big thing. And I'll certainly link up a podcast as well. All right. The next research study is we're doing a CBD day, but not just CBD, cannabis as well. So new study suggests some cannabis compounds may prevent the virus from infecting human cells. The virus is the one that begins with a C. I don't want to say it because then I'll probably be censored because I'm saying that this stops this virus from infecting your cells. And this, by the way, mainstream news. Mainstream news. I'm going to link this up for you. All right. So it's pretty remarkable. I mean, really remarkable, actually. But it shows that certain CBD, again, CBD compounds, specifically CBDA and CBGA, bind to specific locations on the virus spike protein. And these locations are necessary for the spike protein to interact and infect human cells. And if we can block that interaction by putting a barrier between the spike protein and the human cell, that can stop the spread of this virus. And this is literally a medical doctor saying this after going through the studies. And I believe, encouragingly, those compounds can be given in pill form and have been used safely in many nutritional supplements as well as Ayurvedic medicines from India. Look at Ayurveda getting a little shout out in the national news. Pretty phenomenal, right? So here's the thing. Conventional medicine doesn't have all the answers. I love conventional medicine for acute-based care, okay? I'm not saying you shouldn't go to the emergency room if you don't need to. I am saying that you should. What I'm saying is natural health, integrative health has the answers for long-term overall health. This is amazing. Think about this. Think about a fork, right? How sharp the end of that is, right? Think about putting a foam ball on the end of it. That's basically what CBD is doing to these spike proteins. It's putting a foam ball at the end so it cannot get into the cell. The receptors do not lock in. It needs those four prongs from a fork. I'm just making an analogy to enter the cell. Well, there's a foam ball on the end of it now. It cannot get into the cell. This is why, again, in my opinion, we need to move forward with CBD-based research and be able to get this in the hands of people worldwide, not just through medical doctors and patented big pharma as well. So I'm going to link this up. But again, one more reason to be using full spectrum CBD. Again, I'm not providing any medical advice, no medical cures, no medical treatment plans. But full spectrum CBD, I think it's worth checking out. All right. Hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you so much for tuning into today's podcast. For all the links, head on over to stephencabral.com/2184. I'll talk with you tomorrow on our Cabral House Calls.